Good day, YouTube. I'm Daniel Claremont. I'm the Acadian Therapist. Welcome back to lovely rural Nova Scotia. I hope that you're doing well. We are continuing the series of videos on helping you accomplish your goals. We have talked about how to reflect on where those goals come from, some of your values. We've helped you address some of the barriers that you may have encountered in the past or that you still encounter in accomplishing or maintaining those goals. We have also talked about systems that you can work on to help you achieve those goals in small and sustainable ways. I've also tried to talk about how unique those goals are for you. Because nobody else is you. Nobody else has your unique history. Nobody else has had your dreams. And nobody else has had to overcome the specific challenges that you've overcome in your life. So that makes you special. It can also feel a little bit isolating and lonely and like nobody fully understands because, well, I don't think anybody does fully understand. People can relate to different extents. And it's important to remember that even when you do feel alone, you are still part of a community. You are part of a family. Maybe you're in a partnership. You are certainly part of a community, and you have ancestors and so many different influences, be it historical or in the media, that affect whether you can stay on course or whether you start to lose that energy and that motivation. Sometimes the people around us can be very well-meaning, but can also really interfere with your goals. Sometimes that can be a good thing. Sometimes people are helping you recognize that you might be making a mistake. Other times they might be misinformed. So that's what we're going to talk about this week. Working on your support system. As you work on these changes, the people and resources that you have in your life, are they helping you? Are they getting in your way? And how can you check your own judgments and values to see, well, maybe I should reject what Uncle Bob says, or maybe I need to reflect a little bit more carefully on what he says. Maybe there's something important you need to look at. So we're going to talk about that. So, as always, if you see value in this content, please feel free to like, share, comment, subscribe. All these things will help support my work here. Let's get started. We have a lot to cover. So I believe a good place to start is practicing awareness of when you disagree with the people around you. Now, sometimes that's really obvious. Sometimes people will come directly for you. Some people will challenge you. Some people will approach things from that competitive mindset that we talked about a few weeks back. The idea they bring an intensity and an energy and a challenge that can feel like a fight, or it is a fight. It can be an argument. So those instances are really obvious where you notice that you disagree with someone else's perspective, be it someone you love or a teacher, a professor, an employer, someone that challenges your work performance or the way that you just showed up at the party last week and says, yeah, you're doing something wrong. So that's going to be really obvious and you're going to notice. But a lot of disagreements start way before that. It's the awkward silences at the dinner table, or you can tell, or you just get the vibe that the other person that you're talking to is biting their tongue, or just feels a little off or awkward. I'm going to recommend an earlier video that I put out. It's called Guided Grounding, Dropping Anchor. I'll link to it in the show notes below as usual. That's a little practice you can do. I'll be honest, it feels pretty pointless to do it because it's basically, you'll feel a little bit relaxed maybe, but it helps you become a little bit more aware of what your gut is telling you, what your thoughts are telling you. It's going to help you notice when, things are a little bit awkward in this interaction and why. What's this? What is my heart trying to tell me? What is my head trying to tell me? What is my spirit trying to tell me? It depends on your point of view, but something will seem odd or different. It's going to help you notice what your senses are telling you, and that helps you recognize it earlier. Perhaps it comes up early enough that you can bring it up in conversation with the person you're talking to say, I might sound a little bit crazy, or you might, I don't know, you might think I'm a little weird, but are we cool? Is there something going on here? Is there something you disagree with? Is there something that you want me to know? So maybe you're able to have that conversation before it becomes an argument, or before it becomes this breaking of a relationship and you don't even know why. So I would encourage that self-awareness piece to help guide you for when you need to have an awkward conversation before it becomes an argument. So let's start by talking about that awkwardness about bringing things up and where that comes from. I think part of that relates to a fear of being wrong, and honestly, I think our society really needs to work on that. I have talked about it before. I believe the first time I talked about it was just part of the normal learning curve. Most of us feel foolish when we're doing something wrong because we're not very good at it. We're not very good at explaining ourselves. My goodness, if you had any idea how many drafts I go to in making just a single YouTube video, you'd see what I'm talking about. I'm tripping over my words. I'm screwing up concepts as I'm figuring out how to express them the most clearly that I can. And almost every time I feel embarrassed or I'll kick myself. The outtakes would not be safe for all audiences because I don't always say the kindest words. That is part of me learning how to express myself the way that I want to express myself. Part of learning what do I believe and why, and how do I want to communicate that most effectively. So I think that that fear of appearing foolish will stop us from having conversations with other people that we fear might lead to a disagreement, which is really unfortunate. I think Brené Brown talks a lot about this, that vulnerability. We would be so much better off if we all realized we all screw up sometimes, and that's a normal part of learning, and we don't need to be ashamed, and we don't need to shame other people. So I think that's one factor. Another factor is that fear of being rejected. And this goes back to that old tribal idea. If I don't fit in with my tribe, then I might get rejected and I might die alone in the cold in the woods. And frankly, there is a risk of that, isn't there? There's going to be some conversations and some situations where it might not be safe to disagree. And you might lose that relationship. You might lose that friendship. You might be rejected by that faith community. And that is terrifying. It's an existential threat. However, that risk is probably not as often as we think that it is. And almost always, we have more time than we think we do. We have to remember that fear and anxiety will magnify threats and will make the danger loom larger than we think that it does. And sometimes, if you pursue the changes that you're looking to make, be it about a career change or a faith change or gender change or what have you, as you're looking to develop this new thing that will fulfill you, that will help you blossom, will help you feel more satisfied about yourself and your role in this life, maybe give the people that love you a chance to love the new you as well. When you pursue it slowly, carefully, when you're transparent, when you communicate a little bit, you know, to say, I feel like trying this new thing. Give them a chance to join you in that change. And if they're struggling, you can check out the video I made on helping someone you care about make changes. And that might give you a few more strategies to still pursue the life you want to have, but give them a chance to tag along for the journey. Now, in moments that you feel a little uncomfortable exploring a new idea, a new political party, even a new diet, when you feel a discomfort, when you feel a disconnect with the peers that you have or the family members that you have, it might be helpful for you to ask yourself, who are the people in my life and why are they in my life? Where did that come from? And for a lot of us, geographical convenience or just luck played a big role. They're the person that sat next to you in 3rd grade and became your best friend because they shared a fruit roll-up. Or they're the family that you just happened to be born into. They're the beliefs that the people around you had and you just didn't question them because you grew up with them and they felt right at the time. It's just as you get a little bit older, something doesn't quite fit right. Most of us, our basic ideas and values come from the people that raised us. Now, I consider myself very fortunate. I had very loving parents and fairly smart, I like to think. So a lot of the ways that I interact with the world, that will still be my default setting. They're the values I was raised with. However, I also have to admit that my parents were not the foremost leaders in any kind of research. They didn't know all the things. What they knew is because they were exposed to the ideas by other people. And frankly, in this day and age, we have access to a wide range of more information. We have clearer ideas available as to how the world works the way that it works, or at least there are some new theories that merit consideration. Now, I want to be really clear. This doesn't mean that we should throw away our beliefs just because Professor so-and-so says that they're wrong, but I think it is to our advantage to consider these different ideas. So I just wanted to present a few different options for how you can expand your frame of reference. Let's think about that tiny habits approach I talked about before, or personal Kanban, where you can take those tiny habits methods and apply them in a systematic way that you can regularly expose yourself to new ideas. This can be as simple as asking your friends or coworkers, what podcasts do you listen to? Or check out YouTube recommendations, check out different channels that algorithms will recommend. You may also want to check out stuff that makes you uncomfortable, that seems very different, just to consider what the other side has to say and trying to be open-minded. Now, it's important to remember that the further away you get from what's familiar, the more easily your mind will reject it and say that's wrong. And maybe it's wrong because it's completely out of line with your values and it's not appropriate, or it's oppressive, or it harms people. Well, that's fine. Then you've considered it and then you reject it because you looked at it and it didn't work for you. However, it also pays to be skeptical of those knee-jerk emotional reactions. That's not a window of tolerance. I've carefully considered the evidence. That's more, I don't like it, it's too weird, it's different, I'm uncomfortable, and I get rid of it. So if you're just having an emotional reaction, it might pay to take a few breaths, ground yourself, try to look at a few different sources to consider, all right, well, this feels wrong, but am I sure it's wrong? Is it just wrong because someone told me it's wrong? Or is it wrong because I've considered the facts and it doesn't make sense, or there's no evidence in support of that? It's not factually accurate. So we are all biased based on our upbringing, based on the people around us. And maybe that's fine, but sometimes that blinds us to important facts. And I think we're always a little bit blind to some things. And so it is, I think, to our benefit to question our reactions, notice those reactions, question where they come from, be open-minded to a few different sources, and be willing to revise our point of view, even if it makes us unpopular or makes us uncomfortable. Another thing that might be helpful for you to consider in evaluating a source, including this one. So you're watching my YouTube channel. Fair enough. Ask yourself, where does Daniel get these ideas? Can he back up his facts? Look up those sources. Where did those people get those facts? What ways is Daniel blind? What angle does Daniel have? Is Daniel trying to manipulate me? Is he trying to get something out of me? And if someone is trying to get something out of you, is there a mutual exchange? So is the trade-off worthwhile, including your time? You invest your time in watching this. I mean, this content is free, but you're investing your time, your energy. Is it worth your time to consider these things? And apply that to a book that you're reading, a newscast that you're watching. And I find in particular, I've noticed a real tendency In the world, there's a lot of factors that are trying to get you emotional. They're trying to get you mad. They're trying to get you scared. They're trying to excite you. It's making use of those fight, flight, freeze reactions, which might be important. There are some things that are important to be scared of. So for example, I would say the climate crisis is a very good one to be scared of, but not so scared that we're paralyzed or that we'll just blindly do what someone says that they'll do, in order to make us feel better or to fix the problem for us. So be mindful when someone's trying to get a reaction out of you. Be mindful if someone's trying to get money from you or is trying to take your time, is trying to get you to pray in their church. Well, what's their angle? And are you on board with that? Are you willing to sign up for that? So use your mind, use your gut. Pay attention to your emotions, pay attention to your thoughts, look up multiple sources, carefully consider what you do and why you do it to make sure it's taking you in the direction that you want to go. Last but not least, I really want to emphasize the importance of thinking about your safety. There are some times we get uncomfortable about confronting someone or changing the way our relationships work because we're scared for our safety, and that is legitimately true sometimes. If you are in an abusive situation, if you are unsafe in some way, pay attention to your fears and go very slowly. Make sure that you connect with local resources in your area, crisis lines, shelters, resource centers, teachers, guidance counselors, therapists. These are important resources that you have that can help keep you and the ones that are most important to you safe. Compromises are not always possible and are not always healthy. So while you're considering the people around you and the relationships you want to change, make sure you're thinking about that. Most times there is more time than we think there is to make these decisions and to make these moves. Hopefully I've given you some ideas here to pay attention to what your instincts are telling you so you can make the best decision for yourself. However, don't lose hope. That if you have a different idea, a different notion, there's probably some other people in the world who believe as you do. And if you search a little bit, you can find them. So even as you leave one set of friends or one community behind, or you reduce how much time you spend with them, there is probably another community out there that is waiting for you to join them, or is waiting for you to start that awesome new community, that new business, that new organization. They're waiting for you to light the spark, and they're waiting to join you on the path. And then you create your own tribe. Best of luck with your reflections. I will look forward to seeing you next week. Take care.